This gas station you described, nothing like it matches anything in the area, but we did find your unseen signature in the surrounding area. How did that happen?
A memory. Something, anything to cope. From a young age, Dante displayed a knack for dissecting technology. His first learning tablet became a disassembled mess, each component scrutinized, each transistor a source of endless questions for his patient engineer father. Though the dismantling never truly ceased, Dante wasn't just driven by a destructive impulse. He craved understanding, and through hands-on exploration, he developed a rudimentary knowledge of electrical and mechanical systems. The rudimentary understanding gleaned from disassembled gadgets became a cornerstone of Dante's burgeoning magic. It allowed him to manipulate the intricate dance of components within complex systems, granting him control over the data and functionality of analog and digital devices. Though he hadn't yet encountered anyone else wielding similar magic, Dante remembered his distant family's lessons. Magic was a dance of intention. The limits of your magic were bound only by your understanding and will. Letting go of the nostalgia of memories, he closed his eyes, delving deep within. He felt the strumming pulse of unseen energy, the electricity buzzing in the air, the faint hum of the moon above, the very lifeblood of the abandoned station itself. Cables, scrap metal, damaged chips, old registers, they were all dormant threads ripe for manipulation. With a focus as sharp as a shard of glass, he reached out, channeling the latent power of all of these components directly into fortifying the gas station. Lights blinked to life, their dusty bulbs humming to a reluctant glow. Rusty pumps groaned, gears strained as they reluctantly whirred back to life. The dead station, like a forgotten automaton, stirred under Dante's will. Its decay now became his weapon, his prison now his orchestra. With deft movement, Dante wove magic into the metal and wires. Twisted pipes became makeshift conduits, channeling the electrical current into precise, crackling lines. Shattered glass morphed into crude lenses, focusing moonlight into beams of piercing brilliance. As the final throes of the station metamorphized, rattled him, Dante felt the structure's weight pressing down, threatening to crush him under its shifting reality. The spell nearing its completion made a final push, but his reserves were nearing depletion. Suddenly, a memory flickered. Of the blue lines of code he willed into his phone, a language of magic he was barely conversant in. Now it was the final piece, the missing brushstroke in this painting. With newfound resolve, Dante delved into the depths of his being, trying to dredge up the forgotten incantation. Ancient symbols, remnants of lost tongue, flowed from his hand, etching themselves onto the wall and the floors of the gas station. Their meaning was unknown, but for now it was enough. The spell, fueled by the last embers of his will, solidified, binding the magic to the fabric of the structure. A wave of relief washed over him as the pressure receded. The gas station was now a testament to his unique craft, stood but imbued with life force wholly his own. Exhausted but triumphant, Dante surveyed his creation, stepping out to the now fully lit gas pump area. Though Dante was now exhausted and the pounding of the migraine began to form, he turns to see that the environment beyond the station responded to his magic. At the flicker of the edge of the tree line caught his eye, a faint glow similar to bioluminescence. It pulsed rhythmically in the darkness. Curiosity then began to war with his exhaustion. Dante pushed himself closer, squinting at the encroaching night. There, nestled against the gnarled roots of a forgotten oak, lay a patch of mushrooms, but they were no ordinary fungi. They pulsated with an otherworldly luminescence, an eerie mix of orange and green that intensified as they neared the gas station. "Seems I'm not the only magician in the woods," Dante muttered, a sardonic edge to his voice despite the tremor in his limbs. The discovery sent a jolt of excitement through his system, momentarily pushing back the tide of fatigue. His bravado was a thin veil. He was trapped, just a young man battered by a grueling ordeal. Glancing at the dimly lit station, its familiar walls offered a tempting haven. Recovering his strength and gathering his intentions were his priority now. With the final wary glance at the glowing patch, Dante retreated into the comforting shadows of the gas station, the weight of his magic and the mystery of the forest pressing down upon him in equal measure. Dante sank warily onto a makeshift cot within the gas station's dimly lit interior. Sleep. A seductive siren beckoned him with the promise of escape, a temporary respite from the harsh realities that pressed down upon him. It was a welcome sensation, the first embrace of comfort in this desolate environment. As he drifted into unconsciousness, his mind conjured a dream filled with the images of the day that set his kidnapping into motion. The memory played out like a scene that felt so distant from now. The concerned frown of his father, the frantic search for his missing son, as Dante was taken. He held onto the image with the ferocity of a drowning man grasping at a life raft, clinging to the belief that his father would find him, that he wouldn't be left alone to navigate the world alone. The dream dissolved, the concerned image of his father replaced by a sharper memory. It was just from yesterday at his dad's workshop. Sunlight streamed through the dusty windows, illuminating a tableau of familiar tools. His father, calloused hands stained with engine grease, bent over a sputtering carburetor. But something felt different. The air crackled with a tension Dante couldn't place. As he watched, a man appeared beside his father. This was Mr. Vargas, his dad's gruff but respected boss, yet Mr. Vargas's gaze lingered on Dante a beat too long, an event that felt uniquely off. His father, oblivious, chuckled, wiping his brow. "Hey, bud." His voice was gruff and soothing. "This here's Mr. Vargas. He's stopping by a bit before we take off this afternoon." His dad paused a moment before reaching into his work stand to grab a trinket resembling a small robot action figure. He held it off right, and then with a cough, he cleared his throat. "What's going on, Macho Bot?" His father's tone carried an unseen groove, with a little time in between the robot holding his hands in the air and vibrating. "Nothing much, old man," before sputtering out. "Dante's got a head for gadgets, doesn't he?" he said, gesturing to his boss about the half-assembled robot now on Dante's workbench. There were wires snaked across the surface, gears half exposed. Mr. Vargas's smile was tight, his eyes darting from the robot to Dante, a flicker of something unreadable crossing his features. Dante felt a cold sweat prickle his skin. It wasn't just Mr. Vargas's unsettling attention. There was a pressure in the room, a subtle pressure that made the air thick to breathe. It felt like unseen energy, observing, assessing, waiting for what, but he couldn't quite understand. He tried to dismiss it as a trick of the brain, a childhood memory embellished by overactive imagination. But the feeling wouldn't shake. So recent, even in the dream, the memory of Mr. Vargas's gaze and the oppressive air hung heavy, a chilling portent beneath the surface of a seemingly ordinary afternoon. Though Mr. Vargas's presence was unwelcome, Dante had created under worse conditions and continued working on his projects. While his father and boss questions about their own reports and analysis before their departure, Dante felt Mr. Vargas's gaze burn onto his project the entire time. No matter how perceptive the cold boss was, he wouldn't notice the subtle details. The gears bore faint, meticulously etched incantations, almost invisible to the naked eye. Lines of code hummed with a hidden energy, swirling with otherworldly power. This wasn't just metals and wires, it was magic woven into technology. The oppressive tension of the workshop dream began to loosen as Dante drifted further into unconsciousness. A strained confidence, almost preordained, bloomed within him. It felt like his escape was inevitable, a script whispering secrets to his sleeping mind. This newfound certainty was abruptly extinguished, however, by a churning sensation in his gut. The sounds of the real world, harsh and jarring, pierced through the dream barrier, shattering the feeling of comfort. He woke with a gasp, heart hammering against his ribs. The air was thick with a tang of ozone and something metallic. A low, unsettling groan echoed through the darkness, punctuated by a series of sickening warps and contortions. The sound sent shivers down Dante's spine. The enchanted wires, as his mind dubbed them in the surreal echo of his dream, hummed to life. An unsettling chorus whispered through their metallic veins. "Someone is here," they hissed, a reptilian sibilant. Their message was chillingly clear. The defenses he'd meticulously set as an attempt to delay his captors worked. With a surge of energy, Dante threw the threadbare blanket that served as his cot. He moved with practiced caution, fueled by a cocktail of fear and defiance. His eyes strained to adjust to the gloom, searching for the source of the sound and the potential threat lurking within the darkness. He had to know who breached his prison.